folks. Our E3 coverage continues. It's only day one. We got 2 more nights of this stuff, but it's on right now because joining us right now, we've got Phil Spencer and Kudo Tsunoda from Microsoft. How are you guys doing?
Thanks for having us. It's great to be here.
Yeah. Welcome back, Kudo. It has been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, but it's awesome to be here. You sound so excited about being here yourself during your intro.
It's
day one, but
Mr.
We're still here.
Excitement over here.
When is the last time you were on the show?
I don't know, maybe 3 years.
It's been a little bit, but I mean, man, I just your history. I remember visiting the 3DO offices.
Whoa, that's going way back.
And
thanks for calling that one out in a public forum. I really appreciate
absolutely. And of course, the time at EA Chicago.
Yeah,
and
Fight Night.
Yeah, the Fight Night, and I was a big Def Jam Icon fan.
Oh, good, thank you. That's really nice.
It had an authenticity that the wrestling games didn't have.
Yeah, no, that's a super fun game to work on.
Yeah, no, I really appreciated that one. But let's talk about Microsoft. What is Firewatch?
That seems to be the thing. The thing.
Forget Firewatch. We'll never know. We'll never know what it is.
It can't be known.
It's never coming out.
It can't be known.
Big show, big press conference. A lot of it seems like you guys are just continuing to make moves. I got to say, the thing that jumped out at me is like being completely unpredictable, unexpected was the backwards compatibility stuff. I don't know. I mean, it maybe isn't all 100% up your alley. How are you guys doing that stuff? It seems like emulating an Xbox 360 on Xbox One would be pretty hard.
It is hard, and it was our decision in the leadership team to make the investment. How it happened was almost exactly a year ago. We started talking about things that we could do to make 360 owners look at Xbox One as a safe place to play. And millions of people made investments in 360 content. We just thought the right thing to do was to make it that content go forward. But we didn't know. It was PowerPC to x86.
Right.
The approach that we've taken is to actually emulate the full Xbox 360 OS. Or the full Xbox 360 hardware layer. So the OS for the 360 is actually running when you run the game. And if you watch the game's boot right now, you'll see actually the Xbox 360 boot animation come up.
So it sounds like a pretty low-level emulation.
It is. And that from a performance standpoint, it allows us to work. So we're able to get really frame-by-frame performance equivalent. The box live thinks you're on a 360, and people have been watching some of the things I've been playing over the last month, and people have been asking, hey, why are you playing Mass Effect on the 360? I was actually playing on the Xbox One. And then from the reverse side, so the 360 games think they're running on the 360 OS, which they are, and the 360 OS thinks it's running on the hardware, which it's not. It's running on an emulated kind of VM. On the other side, Xbox One thinks it's a game. That's why things like streaming and game DVR and screenshots all work, because it thinks there's just one big game that's called the 360. But that's why you kind of download a manifest or a wrapper for the 360 game so that we can say, hey, this is actually Banjo or this is Mass Effect or whatever it is.
Configure the parameters of the emulator
exactly
just so that it runs right.
But the emulator runs exactly the same for all the games.
Okay.
So that's because I was around when we did the original Xbox to 360 where we had a shim for every one of the games and it just didn't scale very well.
Right.
This is actually the same emulator running for all of the games. Different games do different things, so as we're rolling them, we'll see, oh, okay, this game needs, maybe we have to tweak the emulator, but it's for everybody. Because in the end, the emulator is emulating the 360 platform itself.
So when you say that all a publisher has to do is kind of give the go-ahead, it's not that they're approving a bunch of work that then has to be done. It's they're just
the bits
saying,
are not touched, right? Okay. So there's some caveats, and as always, I like to be as transparent as I can be on this. Kinect games won't work from the 360 because translating between the Kinect sensors is almost impossible, or basically impossible. We're still working on multi-disc. So people have asked, like Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon are some of my favorites from the 360. There's actually work on the multi-disc and packaging up to single that requires us to go back and look at the original kind of package on the multiple disc and reconfigure that. There weren't a lot of multi-discs on 360 games, but that is an issue for us. And then you're right, you just need the publisher to approve it. We run it through a QA test to make sure everything is fine, and then it's in.
I just thought the reaction when Phil made the announcement was awesome. Like, it's you know, it's so funny because when you're waiting your turn to go into the keynote, you know, you've got like the headsets on, you know, you can hear all the stage crew talking, and like just the level of applause was like so loud in the arena, so nobody could hear anything in their earpieces, and like all the stage crew people were freaking out because they didn't know when to hit their cues. Nobody was able to talk to each other just because the fan response was like just so overwhelming when right after Phil made the announcement.
Yeah, it was crazy. You know, we were in a car later that night, you know, just talking to the driver. He's like, oh, we do video game stuff. And, you know, eventually he's like, you know, he was someone who hadn't upgraded at all. He's like, you know, and he actually just straight up said, it was like you put him there or something. He's like, you know.
We're not who would ever do something like that.
I was leaving the Microsoft showcase, so I wouldn't put it back. You know, he said, like, you know.
That's in Kudo's department.
I want to get another console, but like the old games don't work. And we actually they just announced like some of that stuff works like today. And he's like, oh, well, maybe I get an Xbox One instead of a PS4. And I was like, oh, right.
Nice to hear.
Of course.
Nice to hear.
Geez, I guess that does make some sense, huh?
The funny thing in the arena was actually, quickly, because we had a bunch of fans on the floor, which was amazing. Like, their energy in the show was incredible. But, you know, I'm just reading while I'm up there. So, like, I'm not a smart guy. So people turn around and they look at the displays. They can see what I'm reading. And the people were reading what I was going to say before I said it. And actually, the kind of enthusiasm, the cheering started before I couldn't even get the words out.
Right.
People were ahead of me. It was it was cool. It was just a great moment with the crowd.
Yeah, and then it seemed like you know, well, I mean, one of the other big things, you know, kind of continuing to talk about HoloLens.
Yeah.
And that's so I got a chance to try the Halo 5 stuff.
Oh, nice.
Excellent.
This morning. That thing's crazy. That thing's. I mean, let's talk about it. It's the hardware's a prototype right now, right? I mean, it seems like that there, you know, you have to be some stuff like the thing I know. I mean, obviously, it's a small window where you're kind of seeing the augmented reality.
Yeah.
Is the plan to have full peripheral on that?
So, I mean, the hardware, like you're saying, I mean, certainly the hardware isn't final. So, you know, none of the things on there are completely done. I mean, I think, you know, you're never going to get to like full peripheral field of view. But certainly the hardware we have now, you know, the field of view isn't exactly final. But I wouldn't say it's going to be like hugely noticeably different either.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but it's one of those things like you watch it in the press conference, and like also that camera that can make that stuff viewable.
Yeah, that is a technical marvel all
clutch.
on its own.
Yeah. Super clutch. Yeah. Being able to show like, hey, here's what this actually looks like.
Well, it's one of the things. I mean, certainly since we started working on the program, you know, at some point you're going to have to go do bigger demonstrations to large crowds of people. So
yeah, I mean that's
something we had to figure out.
Big problem that VR faces at this point. You know, like making people understand like how that stuff's gonna look. So like I came out of that Minecraft or came out of the press conference looking at the Minecraft stuff going like that looks cool, but I bet it's going to be really jittery or really messed up. And so the first thing we did when the show opened, we had an appointment to watch the Halo stuff and strapped it on, walked through, and it's this moment where you're sitting there and they say, okay, stand up, now turn left and walk to the waypoint, and you turn and there's a Halo waypoint down the hallway. It's like, holy fucking shit. Like, what? So.
And you walked towards it.
I walked towards it, and then it told me what to do next. I'm like, all right, this is
much like
wild.
your driver experience with Back and Pat, your quote was exactly the reaction we were going for.
Well, you got it. Yeah, that thing was pretty great. Like watching the kind of mission briefing and being able to look around different parts of the ship and having it highlight and all that stuff was really, really cool.
Good. Are you going to come in to see getting a chance to come in and see any of the other game demos that we have?
Yeah, over the course of the show, definitely awesome. checking out games for sure, and checking out, I guess, like UI stuff, showing off some of that stuff too, right? So, like, kind of big show. Is the UI stuff kind of, you know, I guess some of that has to come as a result of, you know, you can't expect everyone to have a Kinect anymore, so it's like the voice isn't necessarily a guarantee and all that, or is it more about just kind of unifying with Windows 10? Because like looking at the screenshots, to me it looks like I'm running Windows 10. It looks a lot like I'm an insider. It looks a lot like the Windows 10 Xbox app.
You know, for us, the Xbox UI focused. My push within Team was all about performance because there are just certain things in the dash that are too slow, and I'm basically on my Xbox every night, and then so. I wanted to, keep you close to the game and allow you to do things, finding your friends, matchmaking as quickly as possible. Kudo needs a beer. And that was it. Like, how do we make it fast? We are getting some benefits from Windows 10 coming to Xbox One in terms of performance and other things that will show up in the user interface. And we were going to show that stuff on stage. It's kind of a hard demo to do on stage. So we thought, let's just give it its time, both in our daily show and then having people come behind closed doors to see. But for common tasks, we're almost 50% faster in our dash, just in terms of button clicks and speed between things, which for me is just critical. It wasn't as much about Connect, it's just let's make it faster.
Cool.
I also think, though, I mean, the team did a great job of taking the features that are really getting used the most and then making them easily accessible for people. So, I mean, there's part is just the performance and how fast you can get in and do things. But I think they did a great job of, with the alignment of just, now that we know a lot more about what features people are using, how often, making those things easily accessible in the place that people really want them.
Yeah, for sure. But this year, with these consoles have been out for a little bit, and the stories are starting to kind of finally pivot more and more. Last year was a lot of that, and then this year seems like hey, games.
Yeah, that was
games.
The thing. Obviously, before this role, I was head of first party, and to see the way our first party teams are delivering this year was great. I thought having Bonnie open the show with Halo 5 was fantastic. Having Rod at the end of the show showing both Gears collection, but also Gears 4 running on an Xbox One, and it's not shipping until next year. Getting to do some new things like Recore we were talking about before we came on.
Yeah. I think that was the thing that stuck out for me.
Rare getting to do a new game, right? And Sea of Thieves, I thought from the first frame just felt like a Rare game and something that they should be working on. I love the way the first parties teams are showing up right now and delivering great content this year. Another Forza, which is going to be 24-player multiplayer. It's good. Yeah, teams are really doing an amazing job. I think we get too much credit for standing on stage and reading lines, but the work that they do to do things like back compat and the controller and other stuff is fantastic.
Right.
I mean, I did think, you saw a lot of our big franchises show up in the keynote, but I was super impressed with the variety of the types of games. I mean, I think we had stuff that really looked and felt a lot different than other times you've seen game shows in the past. I mean, I thought like Recore looks great. Fable Legends, it's super fun to play, but also a very different looking game. Thought some of our indie stuff looked amazing, like Cuphead Beyond Eyes
just looks nuts.
Yeah,
like
and that game is super fun to play.
Yeah, so I need to get over and finally play it for myself. Alex played it, and it just
it's a tough game. I have it in my
understanding
my
is that
room.
it's quite difficult.
It's like Ori. I don't know if you played Ori this year, but people looked at Ori, and then you go play the game, and it kind of kicks you in the head over and over and over. But but when you finish, then it's like a real accomplishment.
Yeah, and it seems like we've been talking about it for the past couple of years now, but it really it seems like there's just so much diversity across all of games right now. You have these kind of smaller teams making things that are now able to exist on consoles in a way that it was a little harder for them to exist previous generation, and certainly the one before that, that just didn't happen. But, seeing kind of the stuff that you would normally look at and go like, well, this will only ever be a PC game. And now we're seeing that come to consoles and help kind of fill, I feel like, some of the gaps that we lost along the way. Some of the publishers that, did consolidated, didn't make the jump, just kind of, that kind of mid-tier game that we used to think about as, a double A, B, whatever you call it. But, it seems like the small games are getting bigger, though. Do you worry that, like, we're going to get into, it's like the big budget games seem like they're these blockbusters. They're going to be hugely expensive. Is the small stuff going to get pricier, too?
I don't know about pricier. I haven't really seen too much of that. The thing I really enjoy is back in the day when everybody felt like they had to be $60, you'd find mechanics and stories and games that should have been $10 and would have been great at $10, $15, $20, but felt the need to kind of inflate themselves to a point where just because that was the only market that was there, if you weren't retail, you were dead. And now you can come out with a game that can kind of be what it wants to be at the price point and the complexity and the story and the budget, and you're happy with it, and you can see the success. And we see that with the ID at Xbox program. The games sell incredibly well. The good games sell well, and the bad games don't. Exactly the way it should be. Right. And the game doesn't have to strive to be $60. And I think that is a great time for just gamers all up, because you're seeing the diversity of content that Kudo talks about.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, I just think it's also, cool. Like, one of the things that we're doing now with Xbox is our game preview program. So it's not only the variety of content, but even just getting, fans in, gamers in, seeing the games at an earlier time in development, being able to give their feedback on the games. I think that's going to be stuff that's, super exciting going forward. Also, is just how we can really get gamers involved more in the development process of the games, get them involved earlier on, and really, not only have them, get different size games or different types of games, but really getting them involved with the development process and being able to, give the development teams earlier feedback as well.
Do you worry, when you get into the business of kind of having a storefront for games that aren't finished? I feel like, one of the criticisms we see of a lot of, bigger games shipping, and, like Assassin's Creed took a lot of flack for it last year, of just, lots of patches. Master Chief Collection need a lot of work post-release. Like games are getting to a point where some of them don't feel like they're shipping in a complete state already. If you're taking a step back and selling stuff that's definitely not finished, like where does that end, I guess? Like, is there a way for, I guess a separate question would be like, what's it going to take for that to change? I mean, obviously you guys don't control the third parties, but what's it going to take for games to kind of stop shipping in a semi-broken state?
I would separate out, say, MCC from the game preview. I think your point's valid. MCC was just, we need to do a better job.
Yeah. I think I collate that stuff because of what we see on Steam, the early access program
totally.
there,
and we've tried to learn from that
in a lot of cases.
And part of us saying that every game in the preview program has to have a demo was part of us recognizing that we want people to be able to put their hands on what they're going to pay for before they make the decision to pay for it. And that was an important part of the program for us as we were working with Chris Charla and how we wanted to set that up. The other thing, just to be honest about it, we're going to curate the list a little more on console, right? We didn't go out and announce 400 games.
Right.
And we found developers that have been in early access before, and they're kind of reputable indies. We want to expand the program, but I want to be careful. I find right now, especially at a conference like E3, the community gamers, a subset of them want to be very close to the development. And as you said, there are other people that just want to buy a disc, put it in, and have it run perfectly.
Yeah.
And we want to be a great place for both of those. And we're going to learn from the game preview program. If nobody does it or it's not working, we will stop doing it, right? But I like taking the opportunity, taking the risk, if people want to look at it that way, to try something. The developers wanted it, and we're going to learn from it. And I think it can open up a creative outlet for studios. And if it doesn't, we'll stop it.
Yeah. I think it's been one of those things where when, like looking at Steam, like the early access stuff, when it works, it works incredibly well.
That's right.
Yeah. I think, like curating that, like having a demo seems like that's a key differentiator that will hopefully solve some of those
And we
issues.
pay a lot of attention to what Steam is doing there. They've done a great job in being a great marketplace for content, big and small. The sales that they do, early access, and we've done some things on Xbox Live, and I think it's just good for everybody as we learn from each other.
So the PC, let's talk about it. It's huge. I understand. Like tons of people,
lots of
this
people
Windows
have that.
thing,
This
right?
insider program that you're part of, I love that.
Yeah, I'm in the fast ring. I'm not messing around,
Are you?
man.
What build are you on? Do you know?
Was it like 100, 110, 300 or something?
30.
Yeah, 30. Yeah.
You're going to be getting, I think, 45 here pretty soon.
All right.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. No, it's actually it's been fun to watch Windows 10 kind of move along.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because, and even in our Xbox our preview program, right? That's not that different actually than the game preview program when you think about it.
Yeah,
like,
it's a bigger dice roll because at some point I need to be able to send emails and pay my bills.
How have we done? Have we done okay from that?
It's been fine.
Has
yeah,
it?
there was
Good.
a while there
That's
that
good.
all the fonts were broken in Chrome, but other than that, it's okay.
Good. Well, it's not good that we broke things in Chrome.
Yeah,
so we don't want to break things in Chrome.
Yeah. It sounds like that. You've been talking for a while about doing more stuff on the PC and kind of getting back into that business in maybe a bigger way. Is my understanding that earlier tonight some announcements attached to?
Yeah, I was at the
stuff?
PC Gamer press conference, and first I just thought it was fantastic that there was a PC Gamer press conference, bringing PC games to E3. They're here, but giving them a stage to kind of talk about news.
It seems like it's almost always been a console show.
Yeah,
first and foremost.
I mean it was an old retail show,
Right.
and then as PC games kind of went away from retail,
Yeah.
it was left with console. We announced Killer Instinct's coming to PC. That's actually you should talk about that. It's your game.
No, that's okay, good.
So will that work with the cross multiplayer, that sort of stuff? Separate multiplayer?
I said it would on stage.
Yeah,
just
no, that's fine. That's
Okay.
usually how most of the major game decisions get made. Is Phil will go either on Twitter or on stage somewhere and say what we're doing, and then you will find out later and go, oh, yes, Killer Instinct is going to be shipping on both platforms and enable crossplay.
Well, it's just
Correct.
something you just get a hold of those goofs at Iron Galaxy and just say, do the work.
Yeah.
And they just take care of it, right?
No, but I mean, I think that's something we're really, pushing for on a lot of our first-party titles now. Fable Legends is going to ship both on Windows 10 and Xbox One, enable crossplay, and then Gigantic is doing that as well. So,
Right.
yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more titles that's enabling that, not just because Phil says it in public.
And we also had Rod Ferguson come out on stage and talk about the Gears collection coming to PC. Which
Gears Collection?
the Gears 1 remake.
Okay.
Yeah. And he announced that it will ship in 4K on PC.
Great.
Which I thought was great. It was something Windows is obviously important to Microsoft, like duh,
Right. Yeah.
And the gaming space on Windows, I've said this before, as we went through the decade of all about Xbox, we didn't do the job we should have done in playing a proactive role in PC gaming. As we talk about the future both of studios and platform and live, I think Windows is really important, and it's an opportunity. As a gamer, I play games on PC. I play games on my television on my Xbox One. I sometimes play games on my PlayStation 4. But I want to be able to play the games I want to play where I want to play them.
Right.
And I know there's this kind of back channel that, frankly, I don't really subscribe to. Of you need to keep people from playing in certain places. That somehow that's the answer.
Right.
And I just I want to give people choice. And I think in Xbox, I want it to be the best TV gaming experience you can have. But frankly, if I'm not around my TV and I'm on my laptop and I want to play Killer Instinct, or I want to play Gears, or I want to play Fable, I should be able to do that. And to try to force people to buy something by excluding their choice, it doesn't feel right. It was kind of our Kinect decision early on about is Kinect in and out of the box.
Right,
Let it kind of exist on its own merits. And same thing with our games and where people want to play.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it's really one of the great things too is just being able to play the games on your, console at home, and then, if I'm going into work, not that I'm sitting at work playing games, but then if I go into some place that isn't my home, where I have a PC that I'm supposed to be doing other things on,
Sure.
you can just pick up,
Like work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is not going the way I thought, but and then just be able to come in and just seamlessly pick up the experience at work and still have the things that that you had done back in the console transfer right over and make it feel like one awesome experience if somebody was doing that. But
Yeah, and it's Killer Instinct just seems like a cool one. It's okay. It's research.
Yeah, I know.
It's research. Everything it's just all comes back into just like you need to
My 600
do
hours
this.
of Destiny. Or
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's, Killer Instinct, I think, is a really cool move. Like fighting games on the PC, it always felt like one of those huge disconnects for me where like, why would you ever play a fighting game on the PC? That's crazy. The performance can be better, but it's not always stable.
Yeah.
So, it's like fighting games need to be locked, and it always just seemed insane. But, like more and more of those over the years, and KI is just super impressive. Like over the course of these 2 seasons, like I couldn't stand Killer Instinct and KI2. Like so when it was like when
back in old, not
the original
season 2.
games.
Yeah.
So when
You can play them now in the rare replay.
No, I know, yeah.
Just to run an ad in the middle of your show.
So are those going to be the same versions that were already made available to people that, if you bought certain packages of New Killer Instinct, you got those arcade games?
Yeah, I
Or
think
it's
there
KI
might
Gold
be
or something
one
in there too, or
version
something,
that's-
right?
I should know the answer to that, but I think it's the same version.
Yeah. But I went into Killer Instinct thinking like this game is a joke, and was really pleasantly surprised by the quality of that thing. And just over the course of the 2 seasons, it's just been getting better. That stuff's really cool.
And a lot of players. It's been great to watch.
Yeah.
And when people push on, hey, you can't take KI to PC, I think it's good for the franchise because there'll be more people playing. Which, not to be all business about it, but lets us invest more in the franchise
Sure.
as more people are buying stuff.
Is this the sort of thing that helps to enable, like, say, a third season of Killer Instinct?
Totally. Like, you think about having more people playing, having more people buying characters, giving you more people to play against, right? I just think it's just healthy all up. It's great for live because it keeps people playing on live and letting them engage when they're on the PC or they're on Xbox One.
Right.
So I see it as just a win-win, and I know we'll push through people seeing somehow we're betraying the Xbox nation, which is critical to us.
Yeah.
But allowing people to play their content wherever they want to be, and I think it's great for what we can invest in games and letting people play.
Yeah, I mean, bringing more people into those games and letting them play them in more places doesn't seem like betrayal. That seems like, just giving people more choice. Right?
Yeah, and I think you can see definitely with KI also, though, like once people get a chance to play it, just like yourself, like it is one of our most engaged, communities. Around that product, and so I think just giving people more of the opportunity to experience what the game is and really see how fun it is,
and making free to play work on a fighting game, which seemed like it's a business model that just seems to make perfect sense for like that genre if you do it right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so
when we announced the streaming that we did announced it in January on your Windows 10 machine, that you was streaming from your Xbox One to your Windows 10. That's kind of unlocking that content already, and I think you're going one step further.
Because I feel like I still can't trust streaming. I feel like it's one of those things where there's going to be just enough latency that it's like not going to, especially for a fighting game. Stuff is
that's
so
right.
crucial.
So having streaming is okay, but having code run natively is somehow a problem. Like that seems
totally.
But it's great. I mean the reaction to the PC show going all the way back. Was nice. I was kind of expecting to come out and get booed, and I didn't get that. Which was like, why is this Xbox guy here? But it was nice. The crowd was great. I thought they did a nice job running the event, and we had some good games to show and a couple of announces, and it was nice to see PC gaming have a real press event.
Cool. Well, you guys, thanks so much for coming by.
Oh, please.
It's been
so much fun to
great
be here.
to talk with you.
He gave him a free beer.
There's plenty more.
By the way, if you want me to come back in an hour or so as well, that'd be great.
We'll still have some cold beers. You want to come back?
A little more.
We'll do an hour on Def Jam Icon.
That'd be awesome.
E40 was the best character in the game, and just I had my own soundtrack
the
ripped.
DJ controls.
The
very
whole
nice.
thing. Like there's just that's. Oh, I had to fight a lot of people for my love of Def Jam Icon. Like it was not always the most popular decision, but that was me. Phil, Kudo, thanks so much for coming by.
Thanks for having us here.
Looking forward to seeing more of the lineup over the course of the show, and we'll be right back after this.